Today's fight's theme is cat girls. Continue.
Okay. Hey everybody, it's Calxiyn here. If you guys enjoyed this video, you guys should become patrons over on Patreon, so you guys can join our Discord server. Today we are going to do a RWBY What If. We are going to talk about what if Weiss and Yang stayed with Raven, which is a hue sort of moment. Like,
Didn't I think that was what was gonna happen?
What? I
like
don't remember.
In the ode, like I thought.
Hunter, it's been a minute. It's been a hot minute.
It's
been
like
literal months. What do you? Oh, do you remember? No.
Because I remember. Because
No.
I originally I thought it was gonna be like they would stay with. I thought Weiss would get hitched. That's what I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be Weiss and Vernal gonna have a relationship because I need a little gay.
Oh yeah. Well, we did a video on if Weiss would become a bandit, which didn't happen, but it was a good idea because I came up with it. But anyway, yeah. So I have no idea. So I didn't know exactly what to put for this because the problem is we don't know how much Raven knows about Ozpin. But I'm guessing like an easy explanation here is that like Raven would keep telling them stuff, right? And that stuff would tilt them to the point where they don't go and find RWBY, right? This would have to be in a universe where Yang doesn't care about fighting RWBY anymore because what Raven tells her is so mind-boggling. Yeah,
it's
and
not
so,
just like I'm a bird, tweet, but like something presumably
so we don't
terrible.
actually know.
It would be
yet.
cool if it was just like whisper. I love how you dodged away from
I
my
thought you
mouth.
were gonna like touch me, and I was like,
No, I'm leaning into the mic. It's not my fault. Your face is by the mic.
Okay.
No, so it's gonna be like whisper with it, and you never.
And you never know what it is. I hate when they do that. Don't do that to me. Oh my god. Okay. So let's just say that happened.
Yes.
All right, because
and you
I don't
know
know.
what the big because
so
maybe it's like Ozpin was terrible.
Let's say Raven tells Yang how Summer died, or I don't know, about Salem, or about something like, we don't know, right? So, when you think about it like that, I guess, you know, we don't exactly know what she's gonna say. We don't know how much Raven knows, but this is where things get interesting, right? Because they're trying to prepare for the Battle of Beacon, right? And things would go entirely different this time, because there would be no conversation between RWBY and Weiss, right? And Yang and Weiss, right? Because they were, I mean, I guess they could still do that, but they wouldn't be at, like, the thing, right? Because remember when they all get together and eat lunch and they're all, like, happy or whatever, and there would be no hug scene. Like, all of that would just be gone, right? And RWBY wouldn't know that, you know, Yang is mad with Blake. Like, none of that, right? So all of that would be erased somehow. So maybe, like, RWBY would think about how much she misses her sister, and we would see that, and then it would cut back to Yang.
Where would Yang go?
What do you mean?
Not to go after and find.
Well,
I guess
she stays with Raven, right?
She tried to find Raven, so both Weiss and Yang stay with Raven.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So this would basically happen after she turns them into a bird, and then remember they open the portal, they go to the motorcycle, and they go, right? But everything that happens after that,
it's
so
like the end of Grease.
What? So like RWBY, you know, has this conversation like with all of them around the table, right? Or I guess they all have a conversation together about their adventures and stuff. They catch each other up, right? And then they have the talk with Ozpin. That's not happening anymore. Like, all of that gets erased because when we do the RWBY What Ifs, we, like, that, all that shit, that's all cut, right? So instead it would be, like, you know, we'd skip all that, we'd see RWBY and Juniper having dinner, and they would be in bad spirits because Crow couldn't recruit anyone, right? That's who all the food was for. Right? Whoever Crow recruited, not Yang and Weiss. She had no idea they were coming back, right? So, that's kind of interesting when you look at it like that, right? So meanwhile, in the Bandits, right, Raven would come and confront, or Cinder and the guys, right? They would confront Raven and try to get her to work with them. And then Yang and Weiss would be like, bitch, are you crazy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's where another brawl may happen again, because, like, Yang would, you know, see Mercury again, and Emerald would see, like, Weiss again, and obviously Cinder would see them both, right? And so they would have that scene, but with Weiss and Yang sort of standing at the back, sort of like Vernal did, and, like, Raven be like, girls, like, y'all gotta calm the fuck down, let me handle this, okay?
Oh,
and
yeah, because how would Weiss and
Yang, that's what I'm getting at. So the conversation, I think, would go pretty much like last time, right?
Like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, because I feel like every talks would break down.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting at, right? So they would try to have a talk, but Yang and Weiss, they're getting a bit feisty over here, so Vernal, like, pushes them into the tent and is like, you guys have to fucking relax, alright? Like, you know that your mom's not stupid enough to work with Cinder, alright? Like, Vernal sort of scalds them, and that would mean that we get more Vernal. Right, obviously she doesn't talk that way, so it would be a bit more subtle, but, like, it would be like, you two kids really think your mom's stupid enough to work with Salem? Like, let the adults handle this.
Would they hide? Would they hide Yang and...
Well, I feel like, they would all come out together, Yang and Weiss would see Cinder in them, and then immediately be like, alright, we're gonna go fuck a bitch, and then Vernal's like, how about you two don't do that? And go inside of the tent. And then, you know, she's, like, that's, remember how, well, I guess Vernal didn't do it, right? It was, Raven, but Raven called down that bolt of lightning to get everybody to stop fighting before, like, when Weiss, like, summoned the night, right? So it'd basically do that again, and they would think that Vernal, like, is controlling the weather and stopping them from, like, leaving the tent or whatever, but it would actually be Raven, doing her do, you know what I mean? So, like, that is sort of what I imagine happening, right there, and so, like, Raven and Cinder, they would still talk outside or whatever, but, like, Cinder would now know that Yang and Weiss are just sort of chilling over there, but I feel like she wouldn't even remember Yang and Weiss. Like, I feel like, if anything, the one who would remember Yang is Mercury, and then Emerald might remember Weiss. Like, they didn't really have that big of an interaction, right?
Maybe it's just, like, everything goes well, but then Mercury looks at him and, like, that's the person who broke my leg?
Well, remember they had that sort of interaction right at Beacon, so it would just be an interaction ahead of time, like the same sort of lines. But what I'm thinking is that they stay in the tent, Raven does the thing, like, she agrees to work with Cinder, and then Yang's like, what are you doing? And, like, you know what I mean? And then they have sort of a fight scene, like, we have to be strategic here, alright? Like, you know what I mean? You guys don't know what Salem's capable of, okay?
I just don't think it works as well, because...
What do you mean?
Because Yang and then Raven don't have that sort of scene like when Yang confronts her right outside the relic room.
Why?
And, well, because it's like, because would she ever do it? And, like, why wouldn't she still go down there? If Yang heard everything, why would she, like, allow it, or...
Well, that's what I'm trying...
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to get at over here. I'm pretty sure that from now, the story would be more or less the same. Like, I feel like that, like, Yang is gonna be, like, this is probably when they would leave again, right? Because Yang's gonna be like, are you insane? We have to go warn them. And Raven's like, oh, you're cute. I'm not letting you go home, the fuck, right? But I feel like Weiss may be like, you know, like, if we're trying to go against Cinder, that may be a strategy to stab her in the back, right? And then that could cause conflict between Weiss and Yang, because Yang's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Weiss? You know what I mean? But Weiss is like, if we're trying to best her, you know what I mean? And so they sort of have that, like, conversation, right? And so that could cause Yang and Weiss to fight, and maybe Yang would go off by herself, and then Weiss would follow her, because, like, what other choice? You know what I mean? Like, what other choice do we have, right? And so that's kind of, like, what I see happening, is that they'd just leave at a later date, because I don't think they'd stay the entire time, unless Weiss could convince Yang that Raven's plan was a good idea, and that... they would just go with Raven when Raven attacked Beacon, right? And RWBY would be like, Yang, Weiss, why are you with her? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, trust us. Like, it's not what you think. We got this, right? And things would sort of proceed as normal. And then the reason, I guess, for Yang going down in the hole would be a little different, but I think it would still be the same. Like, she went down there to confront Raven, and Raven would still stab them all in the back. So Yang could be like, I trusted you in your plan, right? Weiss trusted you in your plan, and now you backstabbed us when you got here. You know what I mean? Like, Raven could try to act under the guise that she is doing this to take down Cinder, and this is gonna help Ozpin and help them in a roundabout way. That she's here to protect them, and then, you know, Weiss is like, well, it's not a bad plan, right? And so I feel like that could be super interesting, right? Because we just kind of got, like, a hint that Raven was backstabbing everyone, you know what I mean?
I mean, but this would be clear. It was gonna happen.
You know what I mean, but, like, this was a clear, like, if Yang knew beforehand that Raven had promised, like, this is the plan, we're gonna backstab Cinder, and then we're gonna give Ozpin the relic, right? Like, if that was a clear plan going in, Yang could be even more mad in that scene in the grotto, in the cave. So I don't think it's that much of a problem. You understand what I mean? And so I get what you mean that it, like, how would that scene happen? I think that's how it would happen. So to recap, Weiss would sort of convince Yang that Raven's plan is a good idea if they want to beat Cinder. They would all go together.
But why would why would they agree with Raven taking or they never know that Raven's gonna
they wouldn't know that, see? So when Yang goes down in the hole, she's like, alright, great, we can, we can take the relic to Ozpin, and Raven's like, and how about, you're funny, like, we're not giving the relic to Ozpin, and Yang's gonna be like, excuse me, bitch? Like, you know what I mean? That's sort of how I see that happening. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, because I think that fixes your problem, does it not?
Yes.
Alright.
And then Vernal still dies, and
then Vernal would still,
and then they still have that conversation.
Yeah, but, like, also a different conversation, right? Because she'd be like, I was stupid to think that I could trust you again after you left us, you know what I mean? Because that could be... That could be how it's all connected. You know?
Sure.
You know? Okay. Anyway, yeah, so that's just kind of my idea for that. One of the patrons asked us to do what we think would happen in that instance. So this is basically it. I think that this is a good explanation, if anything. And I think that we'd be okay with this happening, right? But yeah, that's kind of all I had to say.
Maybe you get a little more Vernal.
Yeah, you get a little more Vernal, you get more development for Weiss and Yang's relationship.
Maybe Yang saves, maybe Yang saves... That would kind of be a funny way for Cinder to go out if it was like, hey, Cinder, look up. And it's just Yang dropping from the ceiling.
Yeah, and she's like, good job, Mom! Like,
this is for my sister! And then like, just smack. Yeah. And so then maybe we get more Vernal.
Yeah, and so that could also be like, she smacks down Cinder and is like, great, now we can take the relic to Ozpin. And Raven's like, what? You thought, Anyway, so that's just kind of all I had to say about that. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to request us to do your theory or do your idea and talk about what we think of it, remember that you can be a patron over on Patreon, a $10 patron for something like this. And we'll see you later. Bye, guys.